Over the next few months, I'm going to be trying lots of irons out, all in an aid to try and get a new set of irons in my bag. And also, I want to help you guys understand a little bit about some of the irons that are on the marketplace. I've loved playing with my Mizunos, but I just want to try some others and see how they are going. And the first set that I'm going to be trying is one of these. It's the Srixon ZX7 irons. I took them out to Apparel with me and played a few holes and played a few rounds with them, trying out a few different things. Now, as I go through this process of trying to pick my new irons, there's going to be a few categories that I want to look at. I want to understand, A, the looks of the club. If it doesn't look good to me, I probably won't put it in the bag, even if it performs well, because I'm a true believer that you've got to look down and love what's in your hands. Otherwise, you'll find a reason for it not to work. Secondly, we want to know about performance. How do they perform when out on the golf course? What I see from a lot of irons nowadays is that when you get them in close to the greens and you're trying little chip and runs, or you're trying to play a few delicate shots with the wedge or the 9-iron, sometimes they get a little bit fiery. I also want to know what the feel's like. Majority of these irons that I will try will be forged irons, but there might be some curveballs in there. And I do think, obviously, a cast iron will do exactly the same job as a forged iron, but can we see that some cast irons feel just as good as the forged irons now? And then also, I want to have a look at what the numbers are like, what the distance is that is going on those, what the spin numbers are like. Ultimately, the set that I do choose, I will go and have a custom fit with that manufacturer. So it'll be interesting to see when I actually try the irons in the sim, what the numbers come out like to what they actually look like when I do get fit, and see if there is a massive change in those. But without further ado, let's head out onto the golf course at Apparel and try these irons close round the green and see how we get on with those there. Little bit about the ZX7 irons before we actually go into some longer shots and get them on the simulator. They're a tour cavity, so we can see that they've got that little bit of cavity, and that's one thing that I probably want to look at in most of the irons. Because I'm not practicing and playing as much now, I want to try and find something that does have that air of forgiveness. If I'm not quite getting it out of the middle, I don't want to be punished, so therefore a blade, I would imagine, probably won't find its way into my bag. I want something with that little bit of tour cavity. These ZX7s feature grooves that change throughout the set, so when you get down to the 8-iron and towards the pitching wedge, they're going a little bit narrower and deeper to promote that little bit more spin and a little bit more control as we're going through it. Also, in the longer irons, they've got a tungsten weight in the toe, so potentially you're going to strike your 4 to 7-iron maybe not as sweet as a pitching wedge. So with that tungsten weight, it's designed to create a higher moment of inertia and take any shock out of there and still give me that good distance and that forgiveness from those slightly off-centered strikes as we go through. A forged iron, also one of the features is this V sole that they've got here, which is fantastic for me because, as it describes on the website, it will glide through the turf even if you hit the ground before the golf ball. So when I'm fatting it, I might get away with a little bit more of those. So interesting that we've got a player's looking iron with so much forgiveness in there and quite a bit of technology already. And as I'm actually recording this one, it has been announced that Brooks Koepka has actually gone over to the Srixon side. It was probably because he saw my video on Srixon being an underrated brand. If you haven't seen that as well, check that one out. So overall, let's get back out onto the golf course, see how I get on with a little bit of playability with these irons, how I find that they're for forgiveness, shaping the ball, hitting it high, low, and all round just playability for that iron. Then we're going to head back in here and hit a few on the sim. The next factor I want to have a look at is the workability. I've hit a few shots now, the clubs are actually feeling really nice, not too firm, not too soft, somewhere around about in the middle I would say, but I want to feel or check out what the workability is going to be like. So I'm here on the 4th hole and I've got 185 yards. Now that's a 6-iron for me. So what I'm going to do is hit a normal 6-iron, then I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to hit a 5-iron, try and get it a bit higher, a bit more cut on it, and see how easy it is to start shaping these shots a little bit. What I will do with my 6-iron as well, I'm going to try and hit a bit of a lower draw just to make sure I fly it all the way there, because we are slightly into a little zephyr of wind. So hitting 2 different shots with 2 different flights. Let's see how they stack up to the test. And you know what, that's user error. I just hit a straight push. Did manage to lower the flight on it, but that's more me than the actual golf clubs. So if I switch into the 5-iron, this is a little bit more of a shot I'm a little bit more comfortable with. I'm going to hit a higher cutting one. Let's see what it's like to get that shot going. Oh, that's beautiful. Have I overcut it? Ooh, right on the fringe of the green. You know what? Even that wasn't my best strike. Beautiful flight though from it. Seemed pretty easy to get those shaping. One of the things I would be wary of is getting too much offset on my iron, so when I am trying to hit those fades that I do like, the face would already be a little bit closed because of the offset, but minimal offset on these ZX7s. And just there, I'm going to hit just a few more holes, just to get an idea of what it is like to get the workability on those, but early signs, very good. So we'll carry on with a little bit of workability. Gonna knock one down against this gorgeous backdrop. See if we can keep these a little bit lower. Oh, I'll tell you what, that was beautiful. Okay, so we've got a few shots now under our belt on the golf course, played 5 or 6 holes with them. Workability wise, I am happy with those. I'm able to manipulate the flight, get them high, get them low, get them moving from left to right pretty easy. Only negatives I would have about the club so far is just the top line to me, as we look at it, just looks a hair on the wide side. But do you know what? I think after using them for a month or so, a couple of months, I reckon I would get used to that. Feel wise, great, like I said earlier, feel really nice. Sound as well, don't sound too clicky or harsh, which is I think sometimes overlooked. We just get them out on the course after a few rounds and it doesn't quite sound the way we want to. So sounds nice. One thing that I didn't consider before actually coming into this was forgiveness. Not something that I would always think that would be high on my priority list, but not playing as much now, not practicing anywhere near as much. There's been a few shots where I thought, gosh, I thought I nearly shanked it or got it a bit out the toe, and the distance hasn't dropped off dramatically, but we'll put that to the test now. We're going to head over to the studio and get some data on it. Okay, so that was 10 shots there on the launch monitor, 172 yards for my carry distance, and my spin was actually coming out at 5,032 revs. Not the highest spin I would see there, and potentially that's maybe why the distance is a little bit down. I would expect to hit a 7-iron round about 180 yards carry, so just shy of that there. It is first swings as well in the new studio, and I was a little bit wary of actually hitting the golf ball in here, but overall the Strixon iron, I think in terms of looks, I absolutely love it. It looks beautiful behind the golf ball, that thin top line and that compact blade length. It feels fantastic. Definitely noticed with those longer irons with the tungsten weight in there. On the slight mishits that I was getting, I still felt like I was getting away with a little bit. And then performance, like I say, just a little bit down there, but distance isn't everything as I'm going through this. I do want to find a set that I'm consistent with, I'm comfortable with, and that I like the look of. So overall, as a starting point, I think we've got off to a good start there. Obviously helps that I had a hole-in-one with the clubs, and that might just sway it for them that they are the ones that got the hole-in-one for me. My first ever one on YouTube. If you haven't seen that video, check it out as well. So that has been the Strixon ZX7 irons. We've got another set that I'm just in the middle of testing at the minute, so that'll be coming very soon. Comment down below as well, what do you think that set will be? And like I said earlier, make sure you comment as to any irons that you want me to try and test. Think along that players category, because they're obviously for myself, so I want something in that category. But quite impressed with those irons. They look good, they feel good, and they perform well. On to the next set, let's see what we find out.